of a new age where dreams of young hearts shall see the light of the
From
day.
seas to hills we claim our chance to pave the way. Unified hand in hand, we sing an anthem of hope, an anthem of peace. Our voice tomorrow sustains, leading the change our world needs to see, the change we shall be. It's time to change the tide of fate and set our hearts on fire. And we will never stop until we break the chains that bind us down. We reap that which we sow. Let our actions flow for tomorrow. Unified hand in hand, we sing an anthem of hope, an anthem of peace. Our voice tomorrow sustains, leading the change our world needs to see, the change we shall be. It's a our chance to pave the way. Unified hand in hand, we sing an anthem of hope, an anthem of peace. Our voice tomorrow sustains, leading the change our world needs to see, the change we shall be.
Bubinaka, warm greetings to everyone from wherever you're tuning in from. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Unify, the United International Federation of Youth for Water and Climate, where we basically let our actions flow for tomorrow. We're so excited to have you here during this onboarding session, and we're excited to meet you virtually. Today, I'll be your presenter. My name is Ndavila Talimai Malaya, and I am from Fiji. Within Unify, I am the regional youth focal point for Oceania. So while we are here, I'd kindly ask you to put your first name and the country that you are tuning in from in the chat below so we can actually get to know each other a bit better. So in today's session, I'll be discussing what Unify is and also shed more light on where and how we can play our part in this impactful journey. So as we move on, we will start off with this icebreaker. As you can see in the slide, it states which expression matches your mood right now. So if you see there are 9 different images of cute little squirrels, and all you have to do is in the chat box, write down the number of the squirrel that you feel currently expresses or matches the mood that you are in right now. For me, for example, I guess I would be number 8. I'm pretty excited to be your presenter for today, and I'm excited to learn more and also get to know each and every one of you better. So let's see. First of all, we have some individuals from Pakistan here today. Hi, Hassam. We also have people from Nigeria. Hi, Kehinde. Welcome to the um, onboarding session today. And some of the individuals have stated their that they the image that represents them is number 5, the squirrel number 5. I guess you're a bit lazy, maybe, or tired. It's probably been a long day. I'm not sure where you're tuning in from, but it's probably been a long day. I understand your feeling as well. Here it's actually 2 a.m. in Fiji. We also have others who have stated number 8, which is also exciting. So that's great. All right. So as we move on to the next slide, we have a Mentimeter. So if you can actually go to the QR code, you can scan this QR code and you'll be directly linked to the question, which states what word comes to your mind when you hear the word youth, or write one word that comes to your mind when you hear the word youth. So we have the QR code here, and you can even check on menti.com, and you will also be able um, to view the question. And if you can see, if you go to www.menti.com, you can use the code 85701827. So the question is, what is one word that comes to mind when you hear the word youth? Ah, someone said energetic. Yes, youth are very energetic. We have a lot of energy. We are full of ideas. We're full of, or we're very passionate as well with the work that we're doing. So that's great. Youths are definitely energetic. Any other participants or any other? Oh, in the chat group, someone has stated dynamic. Yes, youth are very dynamic as well. Enthusiasm. Yes, we are enthusiastic. What else? Any other comments? So, what's one word that comes to mind when you hear youth? Okay, someone said entitled. Yeah, we have positive and negative things. World change. We are change makers. We are passionate. All right. In the chat, someone said we're courageous, or we courage to know. So, yeah, I guess that's courageous. Also willing to. We have the will to learn and are eager to learn as well. And action. Awesome. Youths are full of action, and we have a lot of ideas that we want to implement within our communities, within our schools, and so on. Great. And we're full of hope. Yes, hope is something that I believe we definitely have and we need for a sustainable future. Hi, Gregory. I'm good. Thank you. All right. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so for our agenda today, we have 8 main items we will be discussing. The first is the introduction to the team. Then we have what is Unify, core objectives, YDPA, communications channels, roles and responsibilities, what's next as a member, and we'll also be having our question and answer session at the end. All right, so introduction to the team. So we have Jan Kyrel Guillermo, who is from the Philippines. He is our Youth Engagement Officer within the Water Climate Coalition, within the World Meteorological Organization. Unify is also his brainchild as well. Alongside him is Susmita Mishra from Nepal, the regional youth focal point for Central and South Asia. And we have Anjanette Bantilas from Philippines, who is the regional youth focal point for East and Southeast Asia. Susmeet and Anjanette are actually the um, global focal points within Unify, the interim global focal points. Then we have Peshang Hamad Karim, who is from Iraq, and he is the regional youth focal point for Northern Africa and Western Asia. We have his co-regional youth focal point, Malik Romdan Tunisia, who is also the regional youth focal point for the same region. And we have Zainab Zahid from Pakistan. She is the regional youth focal point for Central and South Asia. We have Brian Kakembo from Uganda and Titilayo Adebayo from Nigeria. They're both the regional youth focal points for Sub-Saharan Africa. And we have Zihan Swan from China, who is the regional youth focal point for East and Southeast Asia. Sorry. Moving on, we have Maria Mercedes Curi from Argentina. She is the regional youth focal point for Latin America and the Caribbean. We also have Ernesto Ojeda Canto from Mexico, the regional youth focal point for Latin America and Caribbean as well. We have Keziah Gersano from the United States. She is our finance and partnerships lead. Then, of course, we have myself, as I mentioned earlier, the regional youth focal point for Oceania. We have Jay Gaspar from the Philippines. He's the communications coordinator. We have Prakash Lama from Nepal, who is the admin assistant and graphic designer. And we have Paulo de la Torre from the Philippines, who is the graphic designer assistant. So if you look at our communications channel, this is the team that are basically behind the scenes and in charge of our social media channels. All right, so this slide basically discusses what is Unify or how it was formed. The World Meteorological Organization and 10 other UN agencies realized that in this game of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs 6 and 13 were actually lagging behind. So, to bring them forward into the race, these 11 UN agencies forged together and created the Water and Climate Coalition. In order to have a greater youth representation, the youth component of the Water and Climate Coalition created Unify, the United International Federation of Youth for Water and Climate. Unify is, next slide please, sorry. So Unify is actually one branding for two different initiatives. We have the movement, which is in a nutshell, it's not an organization, rather it's a platform, and it brings together youth organizations to forge forces and work together and work together towards water and climate issues. Then you have the festival, which is the official youth conference that brings together youths from various backgrounds, and they have this festival, the Unify Festival. So we have some of our Unify achievements. We've had a joint endorsement between Unify and the United Nations Office of the Secretary General Envoy on Youth. Basically, we have recognition and support from the UN OSGEY. In addition, Unify is also recognized by the major group of children and youth as the official youth constituency, and it's also a part of its UN processes and its activities. And so Unify was also presented during the briefing on the UN 2023 Water Conference preparations, which happened last year. In addition, some more of our achievements was during the Dushanbe water process, in which Unify's Water and Climate Youth Development Plan and Agenda was actually mentioned. Specifically, it stated within the final declaration, We support and encourage the participation of young people to play an important role in the UN 2023 Water Conference and further note with interest the development of a water and climate youth development plan and agenda. So, as you may know, we had the UN 2023 Water Conference last month, and within that conference, we had actually officially sort of launched our water and climate youth development plan and agenda. And yes. All right, moving on to our core objectives. So we have 5 core objectives here. So we have, first of all, inclusive networking platforms for SDG 6 and SDG 13 advocates. And this is what basically with this, we're not trying to create something new. We're rather, as we said, trying to bring together what already exists, and that is the various water and climate organizations or youth organizations across the countries, across regions, and we're trying to bring them together and unify the platform. Next, we have global impact monitoring system. So this focuses on creating a directory of stakeholders working around SDG 6 and SDG 13 to see how youths can actually get more involved. We also have proper representation of the youth sector and youth participation and involvement in the coalition's processes, which is also connected to the previous objective. And we have youth constituency that forges partnerships to UN agencies, government, and private stakeholders. All right. So I hope you've all been listening to what I've previously presented. As such, we have our next Mentimeter, our next icebreaker, and this one focuses on answering the question, what does UNIFY stand for? So I hope you've all been listening. Hopefully, okay, so once again, you can go to menti.com and just enter the code 85701827 and then answer the following question. What does UNIFY stand for? Anybody? Doo-doo-doo-doo. UNIFY. If you're not able to see the link, my colleague Prakash Lama has just included it in the chat box. You can click there. And if you're not able to go to the website, feel free to answer it on the chat box. Has anyone been listening? Yes, the acronym. What does Unify? What does it stand for? Okay, someone has answered United International Federation or Festive for Youth. Almost. Very, very close. Very, very, very close. Anyone else? Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So Unify actually stands, so it's very close. It's United International Federation or Festival of Youth for Water and Climate. Very, very close. Okay, there, someone has placed it there. Okay, next slide, please. Also, if you're coming in late, feel free to state your name and the country that you're tuning in from. So here we have our pillars of engagement. So there are 6 pillars of engagement. Those are water and climate education, capacity development, active engagement, global mobility, governance, and resource mobilization. Okay, so when we talk about Unify or any organization, it's always important to know how the organization operates, or the platform in this case operates. And so when we talk about Unify, we have the organization bubble that's represented in this slide. So we have the global movement, and that includes institutions, organizations, and individuals. So it also includes the entire youth sector. Then we have national focal points, global focal points, the Water and Climate Coalition Secretariat, and regional focal points and the global operations team. So for the global focal points, Unify will operate with two focal points in each level: the convention, global, regional, and national. So as mentioned, when I was introducing the team, I had stated earlier that Susmita and Anjanette were the interim global focal points for Unify. We also have regional focal points, and these will be elected amongst the national focal points to communicate and aid collaboration at the national level within their regions. We also have national focal points. The two national focal points are elected at the country level by the active members amongst the national chapter, and they'll also ensure localization of Unify's objectives and be the primary validators of Unify accreditation process. So by default, one of the NFPs will be part of the Unify convention and its processes. So the Unify Convention, so the two global focal points are elected by the Unify Convention, and they will engage with high-level stakeholders, facilitate international gatherings, and propose adoption of relevant and inclusive changes at the global level. They serve as a direct point of contact to the Secretariat. For the global operations team, it's composed of 14 regional focal points structured to lead and co lead one of each pillar based on their skills and expertise. So, when we're talking about the pillars, it's the 6 pillars of engagement that I had mentioned earlier. And they will ensure the operational requirements and be the final validators of the accreditation process. We also have the Unified Secretariat, which is the secretariat who will be in charge of coordination, facilitation, and liaison with UN entities, as well as the WCC Secretariat. All right, now we have the Water and Climate Youth Development Plan and Agenda. So for this slide, I'll provide some insights on how the survey was created and what it is. Our team collected various inputs from different water and climate experts, from different reviews, articles, and scientific papers. So, thus, they came up with the existing gaps and challenges that youths currently face at local, national, and global levels. And these gaps and challenges were then placed into a Google form that we had then and we collected inputs from youths across the globe. And then from these responses, we came up with 5 problem dimensions and possible solutions. Then from the solutions, we had validation workshops, bringing together youths to propose different 3PAs, project plans and policies and activities. And these 3PAs would then be seen as solutions within the YDPA, the Climate and Water Youth Development Plan and Agenda, the Water and Climate Youth Development Plan and Agenda. And so basically during the UN 2023 Water Conference, which happened last month, we then sent out YDPAs to different agencies, governments, and stakeholders, and to basically get them to help us help us adapt to these commitments, right? We also have monitoring and evaluation mechanisms that are present for the YDPA. So, unified numbers, we currently have 6,500 plus members who are registered and 4,500 plus YDPA respondents from 171 countries. What else? We also have regional representation. We have 14 regional youth focal points from 7 regions. And in regards to national representation, we have 18 national focal points from 40 different countries. So here's a slide of our regional members distribution. We have a lot of our members from the sub-Saharan African region, and then from the North Africa and Western region, and Central and Southern Asian region. And we have few members or a smaller amount of members from Oceania and where else? Latin America and the Caribbean. So if you're from these areas and you're joining in today, make sure to join. Or if you're already joining, reach out to your regional youth focal points. Our timeline, this is our timeline from February 2022 till March 2023, where we had presented the YDPA. So basically, in February, we had contact mapping and data gathering. Then in April, we had a data synthesis for the Water, Climate, Youth Development Plan and Agenda. In June, we had lobbying to public and private stakeholders, presentations during the Dushanbe water process. We also had validation workshops as well in Tajikistan, in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. And we had other validation workshops in Philippines during the ARCOI, APAC, so the Regional Conference of Youth Asian Pacific, and that was around August, I believe. And in November, we had COI 17 and COP27 presentation, and this was in Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt, in which we also had a validation workshop as well during the Conference of Youth. And then in March, we had presented the Unified 2022 output during the UN 2023 Water Conference in New York. Okay, now we have the salient features. This includes different internal rules on how we operate within Unify. And so when you signed up for your membership, you should have read the rules and code of conduct at the end of the membership form, right? So we have safety. So Unify, we believe in having a safe working space. Safety is our first priority. In regards to termination, we have our internal rules and code of conduct. So if you breach any of these rules, it will lead to a termination of your membership. Then we have harassment. We have a zero tolerance policy towards harassment. Like any workspace, harassment is a big no at Unify. In regards to intellectual property, so as a member, or as a national focal point, you will get access to a lot of intellectual property of Unify, and these are one of the things that you need to make sure that you don't abuse the access that you have, right? And then in regards to attendance, this refers to how involved you are in our meetings, if we have members meetings, or if we have other meetings involving different activities that you'll be a part of. All right, so meetings and procedures. So this is just a slide on how we interact within meetings. So for example, if you agree to a certain topic or to a certain statement, you can just put a plus sign, and disagree, put a minus. It's very simple modes of communicating within a meeting, whether you're on Zoom or on Teams. The communication channels that we use are Outlook, for major announcements, WhatsApp for immediate updating, and email for official communications to governments and universities. All right, so what's next? What's next? Right, so we have NFP elections in which for your country to be eligible for a national focal point, you need a minimum of 25 members per country. And so if your country doesn't have a minimum of 25 members, you can actually get, your schoolmates or university mates or classmates and tell them to join Unify so that you can actually build upon getting a national focal point and working within your community or within the society or the area that you're living in. We also have our global operations team onboarding, which is pillar specific. As mentioned, the 6 pillars that were mentioned before, the pillars of engagement. And we also will have volunteer positions that will be made available. Just stay tuned and read your emails and stay updated through those. All right, so we have calendar of membership activities. So we'll be having monthly membership updates every first Friday of every month, bi-weekly meetings between the global operations team and pillars, bi-weekly meetings between national focal points and volunteers, monthly meetings between secretariat and regional youth focal points, and monthly meetings between regional youth focal points and national focal points. Okay, now we are in the question and answers section. So if you have, okay, I'll go through some of the questions in the chat and see. Let me check. Let's see. Any questions? How does one register for membership? Okay, so if you want to register for membership, you can go to our website. So you can go to www.unify.org and you can register to become a member. This is from Saline Akot. Any other? Let me check for other questions. Wow, this okay. Can I get the French version of the PowerPoint? Okay, I will have to double check on that. If you could maybe send a request to our email in regards to that. But at the moment, we only have the English PowerPoint. What's the minimum age criteria to apply? So for basically, you have to be below 35 to be a member of Unify. 35 and below. What is the question? How can I know how many people are in my country that are okay? For this, it's a good question. So what you can do is you can probably email us, or if you check, so we'll be sending out NFP election forms to nominate national focal points. If you see your country is not there, then it means that there's below 25 people. So if you can, get more people to join and then reach that threshold or that minimum of 25, then you can get or you can elect the national focal point for your country. All right, so I believe those are all the questions. If you have any other questions or any other feedback, you can actually send it to our emails. And I believe my colleague will put our email or has already placed our email in the chat box. Yeah, so yes, you can email us at memberships@unified.org. So, and yes, you can definitely invite people to be a part of Unify as long as they are 35 and below. The more, the merrier. Okay, so thank you so very much, everyone. And once again, if you have any inquiries, general inquiries, you can reach out to us at info@unified.org. Inquiries in regards to memberships, you can reach out to us at memberships@unified.org. Thank you so much for joining me during this onboarding session. And I hope you all have a great morning, evening, or afternoon. Thank you so much. Naka.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to the second validation process for the Water and Climate Youth Development Plan and Agenda.
I feel that water is our life. So I hope that everyone make your life better.
First of all, we need to put higher attention how to make water management so it brings equal distribution to everyone.
Everyone should have access to water. For this, we need proper management and reliable data, especially for young science center.
We need to redefine inclusivity by tapping and involving those who are off-grid the climate advocacy and water advocacy and providing similar activities. No one should be left behind.
And so we invite you, everyone seated here, to join us in collaboration, in co-creation, so that young people and future generations can inherit a future that they deserve.
Water is connected to all the SDGs agenda. It's an enabler for climate resilience. Without working with water, there's just no way that we can adapt to climate change.
The crafting of the Water and Climate Youth Development Plan and Agenda was intergenerational, and it is anchored on the perspective of the tiers of youth empowerment. How can we involve them? So at all times we begin by making them aware, and by making them fully aware, they will move into a level of participation. and then therefore they will have the capacity to begin their own actions and become leaders in this particular cause.
It is not a question as to why youth should be included, but how. The YBPA is a manifestation that we can all work together. If there's one thing I learned advocating for youth in the water and climate governance space, is that we all need to work together. Let's break down silos, because if there's one common thing that binds us all, it is water.